Thank you.
Okay, and I'm gonna hand the host off to you right now.
Okay.
You should see up at the top, it's gonna say you're the host.
Yep, I see it.
Here's here now, Bill.
I'm sorry, Roxanne?
It said Tom is on now, so you know.
Yeah, I see Tom, I see Tony, I see Fred.
Yep.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, how are you? How's everybody?
Good.
Good.
So Bill, just so you know, I'm working from my iPhone here, so I don't really have a chance to see the agenda to make motions. Apologies to Andra.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Tom.
Nice move.
You're right.
Okay, it is 5 p.m. So I am Councilor Bill Solms. I'm calling this regular meeting of the Town Council Finance Committee to order. And present are, as soon as I figure out, I'll just read them out. Present are Councilor Ingalls, Councilor Malone, Councilor McGrattan, Councilor Sebelia, Mayor Allen, Day Reporter Amanda Hutchinson, and Roxanne Moore. I think that's everybody. So are there any citizens' comments? If you have a comment, please wave your arms, jump up and down, or just speak. Hearing none, I have no informational items, and I would accept a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
I move that we approve the following regular meeting minutes of May 20, 2020, and the special meeting minutes of May 29, 2020.
Second. Councilor Malone, seconds.
Thank you, Councilor Malone. Thank you, Councilor Ingalls. Are there any comments or corrections?
None.
None.
Okay, all in favor, ready to vote? Please say aye.
Councilor Ingalls votes aye.
Councilor Malone votes aye.
And Councilor Solms votes aye. The motion carries. And we are expecting Ian, but I think he's on his way home. He's going to sit in for the finance director, and he'll hopefully join as soon as he gets there. So I'm going to move on to old business and would accept a motion to approve the proposed updated land use fees.
I move that we recommend the council approve the proposed updated land use fee schedules to become effective on July, whoops, wait a second. I need to expand my screen. July 1, 2020 as follows. Appendix Ordinance number 300-003, Town of Ledyard permit fee and inspection fee schedule for building. Appendix Ordinance number 300-008, an ordinance establishing planning and zoning fees for subdivision, new construction, alteration, change of use and zoning permit applications in the town of Ledyard. Appendix B, ordinance number 300-013, ordinance establishing inland wetland and watercourses commission and providing for a fee structure for applications.
Is there a second? Tom, can you repeat that?
Councilor Malone, seconds.
Thank you. Okay, so land use has reviewed these fees or proposed fees and has actually they've reviewed and recommended that we approve 3 ordinances out of the whole set. So we're only working on these 3 tonight. It's been a long process, a lot of work, a lot of research done with other towns. I thank Liz Burdick for doing that work through her department, and also for, I thank Roxanne Marr for putting them into the ordinances. The reason we did that is to, by the way, this is Councilor Psalms. So the reason we did that is to periodically update our land use fees to make sure that we're in keeping with surrounding towns. There's a fair amount of variability, and our strategy, or the land use department strategy and mayor's strategy, was to be in the middle so that we're not missing revenue, but we also don't want to be on the high end because we don't want to have people deciding that they're not going to apply for permits because they don't want to pay the fees. So we're taking a middle of the road approach, and I appreciate, as mentioned, all the work that went into this. Are there other comments? Liz Burdick, do you want to make any additional comments?
No, I have no additional comments. I think you were spot on with the middle of the road. You know, the building fees we raised them to $10 per thousand across the board instead of 10 and 8, which is typical of most towns. The wetlands fees were basically, if there were any that were raised, it was to cover advertising costs for applications. I had Deb give me an average of what it costs us to advertise a decision for wetlands. Planning and zoning permit fees. Really, a few of them went up, but some of them also went down. So if somebody has a small shed or deck, I reduced that to $25. But if they have a new single family home, I raised it to $100 because there's much more work that the zoning official has to put in to review and approve that plan, plus inspections.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilors, ready to vote?
I just have a question. It's more of an administrative question about this. So we're, you know, the motion includes updating the appendix in the ordinances. I guess I thought that each of the ordinances that had a fee schedule, we were going to avoid avoid even the, how do I say this? I thought we were going to just reference the fee schedule and not so that we didn't have to approve changes to the ordinance every time a fee schedule changed. Does that make sense? Am I asking the question correctly?
Yes, that is exactly. You're approving the appendix, which is the fee schedule. So the ordinance points to the appendix, which there's language in the ordinance that says, you know, the appendix is set forth here within the ordinance. So we're not actually changing the ordinance. We don't need to go to a public hearing. We're only changing the appendix to the ordinance, which is the fee schedule.
Okay. I guess I thought even that part wasn't going to be necessary, but okay, I get it.
Yeah, we have to approve the fee schedules, and we have to file them in the clerk's office.
So I get approving the fee schedule. I guess I just thought that it was enough that each ordinance mentions that there's a fee schedule, not that we have to approve a new appendix for each of these ordinances. It's probably just a technicality, but I get it. It's fine.
Yeah, well, all you're really doing is you're approving the fee schedule. It is the appendix. So that's, you have to approve the fee schedule.
Okay.
Okay. Does that clear it up?
Sort of. It's fine. It's just a technicality in my head. It's really fine. I get it. But the information is going to be findable, and that's what matters. So.
Councilor Malone, anything to add?
No comment.
Okay. All right, ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Councilor Ingalls votes aye.
Councilor Malone votes aye.
Counselor Solomon votes aye. Motion carries. Unanimous. Thank you.
Mr.
Is there
Mr. Chairman, may I just speak
Sure.
to, and Roxanne and I talked about it a little bit earlier before the meeting started. One thing that the Land Use Committee recommended was that the ZBA fees, the Zoning Board of Appeals fees, I had included them with land use fees, with planning and zoning and wetlands, but they would like them to be attached to the Zoning Board of Appeals' ordinance. So that's something that Roxanne's working on. The only place that I have found, and Roxanne I think as well, that is listed a fee is just on the back of the application form. So we should probably add it to the ZBA ordinance. And I just wanted to let you know we have one more fee that we have to work on there.
Makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there any other old business? Hearing none, I'm going to move to new business. And is there anyone who would like to amend the agenda for new business? Mayor, you're muted. Did you want to discuss or add something to the?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, under new business, there's 2 items I'd like to put out there for discussion. One of them involves a very brief special meeting on June 10th for the Finance Committee, and I will report on that in its entirety as a new agenda item. And then the other one is a request from a local business for tax relief due to the pandemic. So I wanted to at least put his thoughts and concerns out there, and we can go from there.
Okay, thank you. So we'll add those 2 items. Those will be items 5 and 6. I'm sorry, there will be 4 and 5.
Okay.
Okay, Councilor Ingalls. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong part of the agenda. Looking for motion number 1 under new business.
I make a motion to appropriate up to $10,169.98 from account number 210-90305-58915, CNR Undesignated, to purchase computers and sonic wall for the Emergency Operations Center EOC, that should be right.
Yes.
Yes. In addition.
Oh, sorry. In addition, upon receipt of NSEF Regional 4 grant funding, reimburse account number 210-90305-58915, CNR Undesignated.
Councilor Malone,
Is there a second? Thank you, Councilor Malone. Thank you, Councilor Ingalls. So this is a grant that we've applied for and received. It, as explained in the motion, is for new computer equipment, including firewall for the EOC at Ledyard High School. Sorely needed new firewall equipment. It's 100% grant. It's actually a little bit more than the amount because we did not. Anyway, it completely covers all of the equipment we requested because there was some unspent money in the past. So good for the town, no cost to the taxpayers. Mayor Allen, anything else to add?
Just that this grant is already approved. So this is something that when Russ Shaw was in that seat, we got it every year, the nuclear safety grant. And so this is, we've already got the blessing from the State Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. So with your approval and with council's approval, we're good to go and we will be reimbursed.
Excellent, thank you. Questions, Councilor Ingalls, Councilor Malone?
None.
None.
Okay, ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye.
Councilor Ingalls votes aye.
Councilor Malone votes aye.
Councilor Solomon votes aye, and the motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
I make a motion to adopt a proposed fiscal year 2020-2021 budget in the amount of $60,135,758, comprised of general government, $26,946,338, and Board of Education of $33,189,420.
And this represents a decrease in the projected mill rate, which we will not propose to set at this meeting, but it will be set by the town council at the regular town council meeting next week. A lot of work by everyone. Thank you all very much. I'm pleased, and I believe we're doing the right thing for the taxpayers as well as for the town. So it's a good budget. Thank you, Mayor.
We need a second.
Comment?
Counselor Malone, second.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
None.
None.
Okay, ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye.
Counselor Ingalls votes aye.
Counselor Malone votes aye.
And Councilor Solms votes aye. Thank you very much. The motion passes. And the next motion, if you'd like to make it, Councilor Ingalls, I'll explain why we're doing it again.
That would be great. I make a motion to adopt a proposed fiscal year 2020-2021 water operations budget in the amount of $1,425,861.72.
Is there a second?
Counselor Malone seconds.
Thank you. So there was an error in the last time we voted on this. There was an error in the total amount, and I did not catch it, but Roxanne Marr did. So she's put it back on the agenda just to be safe, and we'll vote on it again. I should say nothing has changed in the budget. It's just catching an error.
What was the error?
There was a typo in the amount that we voted on the last time we voted on it. The number was just wrong. So
Okay.
Roxanne caught it and fixed it. So to be
Alrighty
safe, we're going to
then.
vote again. Yeah. Yeah. My bad. Any other comments?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Counselor Ingalls votes aye.
Counselor Malone votes aye.
And Councilor Solms votes aye. Motion passes. Bear with me one second. Okay, so the next item is the June 10th Special Finance Committee meeting. Mayor, if you want to take that away, please.
Okay, so this is a request. As you know, the Senior Center has several vans, and we get this Section 5310 grant, or we apply for it. It's a federal grant program to provide for grants for senior centers for transportation. We have two vans right now. We have a 2009 that has 91,000 miles on it, and we have a 2013 that has approximately 51,000 miles on it. It's an 80-20 grant, so the town does have to submit some amount of funding. We're projecting $11,000 to $15,000, which some or all of that could be made up of selling the older of the two vans. So we will not keep, if we get this grant, we will not keep three. We've always had two, so we would sell the oldest one and we could use those proceeds to go into our 20% coverage. We don't receive the van until April or May of 2021, but it's just a very protracted federal program that slowly meanders through the process. Our prior senior center director did not apply for several years, as you can see by our newest van being a 2013. And our new senior center director has never done this before. So it's about a 50-page grant, and he's feverishly working through it, but there is a requirement to post in the newspaper and we have to have the application completed by late June, not the last week of June, but the week before that. So the concern was that we are going to run out of time before these grant applications have to be submitted. We've submitted these numerous times in the past, so it's not a new thing for us by any means, but it does require your review and approval, both town council and finance, or finance and town council, I should say. So what I would propose to you is a brief special meeting ahead of the town council meeting next week. I would think not more than 15 minutes would be needed for this meeting. And with your approval, if it went then to town council right after that, that would give us the time to get Scott's application complete, do the posting in the newspaper. We have to provide a copy of the posting that appears in the newspaper as part of our grant application, and then get that in. And, you know, just given the fact that the vans are, actually, they have a service life. Our newest van is supposedly already 3 years out of service life. So the 2013, I guess they consider to be that old. I probably don't, with 51,000 miles. But the 2009 with 91,000 miles is considered way out of service life. Probably because it's carrying seniors. And you don't want these things breaking down on the side of the road with, you know, 10 or 12 seniors in it. So we're looking for your blessing to go ahead and move that forward.
Mayor, I was typing when you were explaining. Is this 100% grant, or is there a town match for this?
It's an 80-20, so it's 80% federal funded, 20 is back on us, which is projected to be between $11,000 and $15,000. And we do have the 2009 van we would surplus, and any proceeds that we receive from that can go towards our 20%.
Got it. Okay, now I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we don't need a motion for this. We just need to discuss and pick a time for the meeting. So
Yeah,
what if we, I'm thinking if we did a 15-minute meeting, we'd probably need 15 minutes in case there are problems just getting online, because we don't want to delay the council meeting. What if we set the meeting for 6:30 p.m. on June 10th?
That should be fine. Yep, and I can have Scott there too.
Wait,
Okay.
Admin has a meeting at 5:30 next week, but I think we could finish up by then.
Okay.
and there's also a special executive session, town council at 6:30.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
All right. So what if we did this? Since we'll be all assembled at 6:30 anyway, why don't we roll into a 6:45 finance meeting? Would that work?
I think so. I think it'll be pretty brief. I mean, I gave you most of the detail tonight, but I think it will be a brief meeting for sure. So I think we could pull it off.
And I'm assuming the 6:30 executive session is for a union proposal, which I don't think will take long either. So I'm assuming we can get that done in 15 minutes.
Right. And also, I just wanted to mention to you that Ian Sam will just join the meeting as well.
Oh, good. Hi, Ian. Thanks for coming.
Sorry for being so late. I had some internet connection issues. Apparently the Wi-Fi in the house has been down.
Yeah, I got a text from Amanda Hutchinson. She lost hers too. We're lucky we're still on.
Yeah, I used my cell phone.
Okay.
And Marcia is now here too.
Okay. Hi, Marcia. Thanks for joining.
So Bill,
we're just
before we
discussing-
lose the discussion from the mayor about the special finance meeting, I just want to mention a couple of quick things. So next week, if we're going to try to have this discussion in 15 minutes, first of all, I am someone who drives vehicles for over 200,000 miles. So hearing that a vehicle has 51,000 sounds like a baby to me. So
Get rid of
I
the
would really like
51,000.
to, I'd really like a more robust understanding of what is considered a out of service life. Is there like some sort of a definition for that? That's one thing. The second thing, I'm going to want to understand how we're going to bridge the gap between what we might get for the older vehicle and the, the difference to make up for that 20%. And then my third question is going to be, is this urgent? Like, could it wait another year? If we don't make it happen this year, could we plan for it for the following fiscal year? So those are my 3 quick things at the top of my head that I'm going to want to hear about next week.
So let's talk about them. Those are excellent questions, and I have the third question myself. The way I'm looking at this is an opportunity to get 80% of a new vehicle paid for, which we should take. However, if that opportunity comes along in the future, I would be in favor of delaying and waiting another year too, because if these opportunities come along all the time, I agree with you. I drove my last vehicle for 255,000 miles, as you know, and it was great. So I hear the mayor's point about we don't want to break down on the road, but a 51,000 mile vehicle is certainly not old. So, Mayor, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah. So the 51, maybe I wasn't clear. The 51,000 mile vehicle we fully intend to keep. It's the 2009 model with 91,000 miles that we intend to sell. And just to be clear too, and I didn't make this point, but when you get one of these new vans, for some bizarre reason, it is restricted to in-state service only. So as an example, when the seniors go to Cracker Barrel up in Warwick, Rhode Island, the new van cannot go there. So we have to take the older van. We have no idea why that is, but for a town that's kind of a border town with another state, it's bizarre, but the federal grant does not allow us to take it out of state. So what it means is the older van, the 2013, can travel state to state, but the newest van that we might receive by grant cannot.
There's a Cracker Barrel a little north of the airport, so it's in state.
No.
It's not in the state of Connecticut. You're talking about the
state of Rhode Island.
No, but there is another Cracker Barrel. If that is Cracker Barrel is important to them, there is one in the state of Connecticut.
Oh, yeah, right. So they could drive up to Windsor Locks instead.
Yes.
But that's twice as far. That's an hour and a half drive.
Right. Or down to Milford.
Right. There is one down near Milford.
That was just one example, but the point being that if the seniors wanted to go somewhere out of state, let's say to Newport, can't do it. At least not in the newer van. Okay, and Andra, what else did you have? Oh, in terms of where do we find the funding to bridge the gap? We're going to have to look at how we previously funded that, because we've gotten at least 3 of these grants in the past. They are competitive. We compete with people like Easter Seals and Generations up in Willimantic. So we compete with some pretty big operations. And then we also compete with nearby towns like Montville, Lisbon, Norwich, everybody else that is also looking for a senior van. So, but I will get additional detail for that for this discussion in advance so that any supporting documentation can be read ahead of that.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Okay. So you guys okay with doing this 6:45 p.m.? That sound like a plan?
I'm in.
Okay, good. All right, so no motion. I'm just going to show this in the minutes, and we'll move on to the next item. Mayor, all yours again.
Okay, so this one, this is Joshua's Limousine Service in Ledyard. I was approached by Joshua's Limousine. As you can imagine, the pandemic has wreaked havoc on their business model. They have 38 vehicles registered in the town of Ledyard. At present, only 3 of those vehicles are insured, so the other 35 are off the road because their business is flat, to say the least. The 38 vehicles, the total tax bill on an annual basis for these vehicles is just over $35,000 a year. When they communicated with me, I let them know that they could defer the tax bill until October 1st. So when they asked for relief, I said, well, you have some level of relief because the July 1 tax bills are now you have this deferral time until October 1. But they said, well, we're actually not looking for a deferral. We just want full abatement. And I said, that's not something that I can do. It's not a decision that I would make. There are other fleet owners in the town of Ledyard too. And they probably all need to be viewed similarly in terms of, do we want to give abatements? And I also kind of have a feeling that there are things like the PPP grant loans that are out there that are probably better suited than a small municipality to provide abatement. But nonetheless, I told the owner of the company that I would bring this forward to you to get your thoughts and see if you thought it was going to be something that would go anywhere.
Thank you. So the mayor had given me a heads up about this, so I have had a little bit of time to think about it, so I'd like to get councilors' thoughts, and then I'll share mine.
Go ahead.
Could I speak, Councilor Sevelia? Couple of things.
Please.
Couple of things about the mayor mentioned PPP funds. PPP funds only allow 25% of whatever amount was taken in to be used for a specific category of expenses. Vehicle taxes, to my knowledge, is not one of them. The other expenses that were allowed and are currently that 25% are rent and utilities. Now, the rules for the PPP are currently very much being fought over in Congress. Those are going to change probably pretty drastically here going forward. I don't know how many dollars this particular business may have gotten from the PPP, but keep in mind, it's based on your monthly average of payroll over the last 12 months. That's what you can apply for the PPP. So as an example, my company, my payroll is roughly $10,000 a month. You're allowed to apply for 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. In my case, I got $27,000. Out of that $27,000, only 20% can be spent on items other than payroll if I'm going to qualify for forgiveness on it as a grant. There is another program out there. It's the EIDL. It's the Economic Impact Disaster Loan Program through the SBA. Currently, as far as I know, they do not have dollars, but it is another way that small business can go after dollars at a low interest rate and help themselves carry through. It's a longer process. It's not as easy as the PPP. So there are a lot of other options out there for small businesses to gain dollars. My other comment has to do with the fact that this business has taken vehicles off the road and unregistered them. That doesn't mean that they're not taxable. So I'm not sure what he gained by doing that other than maybe insurance savings. But when those vehicles become off the DOT records, they have to be claimed as personal property on your personal property declaration. So we need to be clear that he understands that by just taking them off the road, he's not shielding them from taxation. It may have to be taxed in a different way. As far as what rate, if it's a lower rate on the personal property declaration rather than DOT as a vehicle, I don't know that. I'm not a tax expert. That's just my understanding of how things work. The last thing I will say is words like deferment are scary. We're going to see a big problem down the road, I think, at the state level. You can kick that can, but eventually those dollars are going to be due. So I do feel for him when he says, I don't necessarily want to just defer to October, but we have to look at the big picture. My fear is a lot of the stuff that's been deferred or some of the monies that have been taken by these businesses, they're not going to make it anyway. So if you defer, I don't think you're going to see the dollars. And I don't mean to suggest that this gentleman is going to go out of business and stiff everybody. I don't mean that at all. It's just a philosophy view as a business owner.
Thank you, Counselor.
Understood. And to that point, the vehicles, the 35 that are off the road are still registered but uninsured. So the registrations are still in place, just not insured. And I do agree with you with the deferral of taxes that you're right. It in a way is a kick down the road. So I will share with him the EIDL as an option to see if that could help their situation.
It's not easy to get and it's not quick because I know they're out of funds, but it is there. It is there.
And the other important part I wanted to bring up too is that I did look into the penalties and interest charges, and statutorily we cannot relieve them. So, you know, the 18% interest plus penalties, we don't have the ability on the municipal level to say to any entity, well, we're going to forgive that. So just pay your $35,000 on December 1st or whatever. It's still going to accrue and the state's not going to let us not enforce that. So that's a whole nother challenge.
Okay, Councilor Malone. Any comments, thoughts?
Oh, yeah. So here's the way I look at this. And I feel for the business owner. I understand, you know, this is hard times for all of us. However, from a municipal government standpoint, you know, we're scratching for every penny we can get. And that is a huge part of our income is, you know, revenue is the income or the property taxes and real estate taxes. And who's to say, you know, this is the public. Let's say we granted, I'm just saying, what if now? If we granted that relief, how long will it be until 30 other businesses were ringing the mayor's phone looking for the same relief because we just set a precedence? I just don't think it's a smart move. I understand the person is hurt. They're in a service industry, which is, you know, significantly impacted, probably the most impacted of any business in the entire country. However, as a government, a small government as we are, we're very lean and every tax dollar counts. So I am not in support of any form of relief. The deferment that's dictated by, you know, the state, well, that's something we have to live with. But I go back to the point of Council Sevelia. What if, you know, we've had a couple of businesses closed and we know they're not going to reopen in the town. So there goes that. You know, so there's no guarantee that even if we get granted, you know, an extension on the abatement, let's say we extend it out to the 31st of next year of January, there's no real surefire percentage or probability that we're going to get our money tax-wise. So I'm definitely against it. I say that, you know, with a heavy heart, but that's just the reality of municipal revenue.
Thank you, Councilor Malone. So this is Councilor Solms. As I mentioned, I've had some time to think about it. My greatest concern is similar to the ones that have already been expressed, and that is it is a slippery slope. If we were to do it for one, then we have to draw a line explaining why we wouldn't do it for another one or won't do it for another one. Or even if we would do it for some others, where do we draw that line? I can't think of a way that we could draw a line and say, here's the cutoff for businesses that are going to, that we will waive or abate taxes because of COVID. Because we will immediately hear from the rest of those businesses just below the line, if not all of them. So I too am totally sympathetic to the situation, but I don't see that the town can help in this situation unless it helps everyone. And I could see residents with the same thing. Hey, I'm unemployed. Abate my real estate taxes. I just don't know where we draw the line. The other thing is, I question whether this is a town issue. I really think this is something that, if it's going to be addressed, it has to be addressed at the state level, just the way the state addressed the deferment of taxes. And, you know, if towns go off and start doing things on their own, I don't understand how you manage that. And I think we would have to follow what the state tells us to do. And even then, I wouldn't want the state telling us to abate taxes, because we know they're going to be, we're talking about a $2.3 billion budget deficit next year and a $2 billion deficit the year following. So towns have expenses. If we were to abate taxes and get shorted by the state, we know where that falls. It falls on the rest of the taxpayers. And I don't think the other taxpayers are in much better shape to help. So those are my thoughts. I am totally sympathetic, as I say, but I don't think this is something that it can be handled or should be handled by the town.
Yeah, I agree. This is Councilor Ingalls. I agree. The situation is distressing. I don't blame the business owner at all for asking. But there is, I just agree that it is impossible to know where to draw the line. And, you know, we had a similar conversation a couple of years ago when a request came to finance to waive a particular organization's pilot payment. And we had the same conversation. Okay, then expect the line at the door from other organizations wanting their pilot waived. And if you did it for them, why not for me? And if, you know, everybody would benefit from the waiver, except for the people who have to foot the bill. It's terrible. It's a terrible situation, but I agree, it's a non-starter. I hate to say that.
Yeah, and I think the town has done the absolute best we can, which was required by the governor to either implement the deferral program or the low interest loan program. So I don't know what else we could do beyond that, because everything that every one of you has said is absolutely accurate, is that we count our pennies on the municipal level. So we certainly would have a really hard time saying, let's forego the $35,000 in this case, not to mention the fact that how many other businesses could line up and say, hey, we want that. And they would have every right to ask the same thing. So I agree with you completely.
Okay, thank you. Other discussion?
Councilor Washington. Bill,
Hi, Mike.
not to pile on, but I'm in complete agreement with the idea that if you crack this can open this Pandora's box, it's flooding out. It's going to be businesses. How do you tell the guy who's been laid off, who doesn't have any money, you know, he's got to pay his tax. So I think it's a very slippery slope. It's one that's not, in my opinion, you shouldn't be venturing down. So that's my take.
Thank you.
You're absolutely right. I mean, who's to say that it stops with personal property? You're right. The guy that loses his job that says, hey, I got an $8,000 tax bill on my house, I want it abated. So yeah, it could snowball.
I agree with all of you. This is McGrattan.
Thank you, Councilor McGrattan. Not a pleasant discussion to have.
No.
I'm going to move on. I want to go back to the finance director and the assistant finance director and new treasurer. For those of you who have not had the opportunity to meet Ian Stammel, we've asked him to attend the meeting. So I think he's still on here, and he is muted. So I just wanted to say welcome, Ian, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much.
Marcia, anything to report under the finance director's report? Any new information that we don't have already?
There really
Or
isn't
Ian?
any new information. I feel like we went up a big mountain with the budget. We're finally done with that. We've got other things like the treasurer appointment completed. And now we're just looking at, we're looking forward. Ian and I are starting to work on items needed for the audit. We have a meeting with the auditors on June 15th. And we have several items that we need to get to them by June 15th. And then we'll talk about field work and when and how they will do the audit this year. It should be challenging. We're actually thinking about putting them in the council chambers to do their work so that they have a wider area to maneuver in. And we have a Munis upgrade happening on July 1st. So we're working hard to make that happen without any glitches or with as few as possible. And I think that's about it. I will say that for the next meeting in June, we have year-end items and beginning of the year items that we need to have finance committee and then council approve, such as the standing bid waiver list and petty cash, and a couple of other items that Roxanne always helps me remember every year. So hopefully we can plan to have that meeting if that's at all possible. So the second meeting in June.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so Ian and Marcia, did you guys get my email this morning? Did we get a resolution on the in-kind for the Board of Ed?
I did not get that email.
Oh, okay. So I'll find out what happened to it. There's if you go to the Board of Ed in-kind tab, I need to get the current numbers. There's a reference error.
Oh, okay.
On that tab. We just need to, I couldn't backtrack it because it's a protected document, so I couldn't figure out what it's referring to. So if you can get that
tomorrow,
to,
Bill.
the first thing, because Roxanne wants to publish that letter, file it in the town clerk's office. It's the budget letter that accompanies the budget. So, okay, thank you both. Is there any other business? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned at 5:46 p.m. Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See you at the market.
Good night.
I'll be up there shortly. Hey, Roxanne, if you're still on, how do I stop the recording?